Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to this reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Kode Street titled Release the Menace. And if we switch over to here, I've actually listened to music from Kode Street before. I listened to a track previously called Mike Bracor, if I'm not mistaken. It's good to be able to listen to more of them. We're going to be listening through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Just make sure that's right at the start. Boom. I'm liking that filthy bass synth there, dude. Written and produced by Kode Street, directed and edited by DJ 1200. Sweet.
You thought I was asleep, probably out the loop just like I didn't know a thing. But now you got my mind in focus. You try to knock me from the side of choices. You think it's out, but it's only orders to destroy the order. Established living, put the script, now they the activists. Ask me if this whole thing don't seem just like the Exodus. Expected it, you take out with the right and you a terrorist. What's going on, man? It's far beyond embarrassing. I'm watching Nelly's overflow the
I'm gonna listen through the entirety of the song before I really make an overall speculation on what the song is about. I love the tightness of those drums though. Great groove going on with the consistency of the eighth note sequencer on that bass part. And the vocals are nice and crisp in the mix as well. Great flow to it, working in time with those cymbals.
I'm needing ice, but it ain't for the water. Damn it, I ain't thirsty. You strip and search me, yeah, it's topsy-turvy. Your boys is homo like you cat clergy. Now they tryna burst me. They let infections come inside of country. You think you holding, you ain't got no money. Know what your H's are, and you can't hold me with no prison bars. Only thing you can do is piss me off. Know you've been wanted, you can't hold me back. Know that it's my right, so I got loaded straps. Waving around my back, no, you not wanting that. You want me suppressed, but I won't let that happen. Turn up to the max, no, you can't hold me back.
Alright, so this song, as I understand it, Release the Menace, is about the vocalist in the song saying that nobody's going to hold him down. He's loaded. Nobody's going to take control of his life and who he is and force him to do what he doesn't want to do, or put him in a position which is less than desirable. Because there's a lot of stuff that's gone over the last few years especially, and for a lot longer than that. I think with the infections, we might have been talking about the coronavirus, but there's a lot of other stuff in there, like political, sociological issues and such as well that are being discussed here. And I understand the sentiment here.
Know that it's my right, so I got loaded straps. Waving around my back, no, you not wanting that. We on the attack.
What's I think deliberate is that those snare drums, they have a really noticeable reverb tail on them, which kind of sounds like a gunshot or something like that, and I think that's a clever thing to put in there considering what we're talking about.
You can't hold me back. See, you been scheming, trying to steal my freedom, but you don't think I see it. I'm about to turn the scene to Iwo Jima. You can't contain me, and I found your weakness. You're propagating nigga working teachers. They trying to throw us off. I understand the global protocol. You see the leaders want to throw the ball, so if you time to detonate the bomb, I'm about to take you to the terror dome. They got access to each and every home. Okay, I cut the cable.
Even with other vocals, I'd be vibing to this beat with the bass. And what else do we have in there? It's actually a really simple musical backing, is it? We've just got this oscillating bass synth. A lot of the coloration comes from the vocals, because we don't just have the one vocalist in the center, especially in the chorus sections. We have backing vocals as well on the sides, which give it a little bit more presence. Yeah. Cuts to the chase, doesn't it?
I'm not playing. The HSA is laying in the cut, and they launching Trojan through more than surveillance. Like every other second, introducing regulations. You don't know war is brewing in our nation. Breath for Vegas, you can't hold me back. Know that it's my right, so I got loaded straps. Waving around my back, no, you not wanting that. You want me suppressed, but I won't let that happen. Turn up to the max, no, you can't hold me back. Know that it's my right, so I got loaded straps. Waving around my back, no, you not wanting that. We on the attack. You can't hold me back.
Yeah, having that bit of space, and then you can't hold me back. Just that line coming in there back into a third verse, I assume. I think as well, the music video actually having the guy like look at you as he says that. It's really powerful. Really powerful stuff. Really well thought out. You know, there's ba 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 da 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 da. You know, there's the way that it's sequenced, the phrasing of it is repeated and it's catchy and it gets stuck in your head. And even if you're not necessarily paying attention to the words, which I thoroughly recommend because the lyrics are interesting, you can vibe along to it without even knowing what it's about. That's the power of a good vocal performance.
Information on purpose, no disclaimers. I'm like snowing, but they won't make me flee across no ocean. And I keep my arms in reach. Yeah, my piece is always loaded with society ocean. And the day that we stop holding down, caught up in the jars.
I liked having that 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it was nice. It was a nice change of pace to come into the third verse because at this point in time, I think we're quite familiar with that original drum beat we had. So to switch it up like that and have more of an urgency to it was fun. It was a smart move in terms of musical compositional perspective.
Now you can't stop the onslaught. Warfare don't pause. Got people work like AR. Need dedication to another power. Individuality in every comment. Impact like comets. Now the day that you ain't safe for nothing. You're born to fall. You live your life. Ain't never heard about no Ebola. They make you take all types of shots while you was growing up. Well, it's time to return the favor. Got me going nuts. The economy looking through to us. We're what you owe on us. Like we don't know what's up. Cause we keepin' with tradition. You treat me like a menace, but remember, we coming like a new year in December. You can't hold me back. Know that it's my right, so I got loaded straps. Waving around my flag, no, you not wanting that. You want me suppressed, but I won't let that happen. Turn up to the max, no, you can't hold me back. Know that it's my right, so I got loaded straps. Waving around my flag, no, you not wanting that. We on the attack. You can't hold me back.
It's nice to have these higher kind of trippy synths here, going around a stereo field here. It's a nice way to finish it off. Good additional melodic layer there. It's unsettling, like a lot of the subjects that we've discussed in this track. Release the Menace by Kode Street. I think it's fairly clear what this track is about. There's a lot of people who are frustrated at the moment and pissed off for a wide variety of reasons. And you know, a lot of them are justified. A lot of people are struggling unnecessarily due to, like, you know, I think that this song discusses that. It doesn't just discuss the fact that there's this awareness of people trying to actively taking away freedoms in parts of the world, you know. But it's also saying, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to end up like Edward Snowden. I'm going to stay here with my ammunition and we're going to throw palms, basically. I think that the vocal performance matched the tonality thematically of the story really, really well. It gave a really sort of don't fuck with me kind of vibe here. It sounded like Kode Street was making a very firm statement about where they stood about it, and it was like a sense of control from it, which I think is important when we're talking about wanting to have control over our own life. You know, the flow was smooth during the verse sections. There was an anger, a frustration there that I could hear. You know, emotionally it made a lot of sense. Tonally it made a lot of sense, but it still felt very polished. And the chorus as well was smooth. You know, and in sense, what I mean by smooth is that, like, there were no hiccups or anything like that. It was a really professional vocal performance here. The story was told well, told authentically, and I think that at least the vocal side of things, including the story, was handled just, yeah. Especially with Mike Bracor as well. I've got no doubts that when I listen to a Kode Street track at this point after listening to these two songs, I know that we're going to have a good time listening to it and that we're going to vibe with it and we're in safe hands. The structure of it was a traditional verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus kind of vibe. Nothing wrong with that. It works really, really well. That A, B, A, B, A, B, easy for a listener to follow. The only trap that we can fall into there is we get into a position where it becomes too predictable. And we try something one too many times to a point where it's like, oh, I've already had this, give me something new. But then, you know, Kode Street knew to throw that chord note groove in on the start of the third verse. He switched it up, and that was a really smart move. If you had not done that, I think it wouldn't have nearly been as effective. I think, even though I'm listening to the story and as a reviewer, I'm meant to be reviewing the track and paying attention, I think that it would have been less interesting to me if we just had the exact same drum beat in that third verse. Shaking it up a little bit, having something unexpected in there, brings back the attention to the listener, especially if it sounds good, or, you know, that's always a plus. And I'm happy with the structure of it, as well as the general instrumentation We had synths, some sort of trippy sequences near the end, synth sequences on the sides of the stereo field, automated in between, and of course the drums. And they didn't need much more than that. It was a performance mainly centered on being vocal centric with minimal coloration in there. It's very in your face stuff, but it's part of what really works really well in rap and hip hop. And I think that there was an animosity to the overall harmony and the tones and textures of the instrument that carried it on. It matched the vocals and the story. And, you know, from a production standpoint, I think basically we had everything we needed in there. It sounded professional. Everything was leveled correctly. The EQing, stereo panning, you know, there was room in the mix that what didn't pump, or I wasn't over limited or anything like that. Nice and loud. There was a distinct dynamic range as well. It never became too much. You had these peaks and troughs and energy levels, I suppose, between the chorus and verses. Not massive differences, because it was an intense experience for the vast majority of the time. You know, we did occasionally take those drums away just to lower things a little bit and just keep things a little more sort of like chill, at least instrumentally, whilst we took the intensity of the story in. There was a sense of balance and equilibrium there, despite the struggle that Kode Street is going through. And I really hope things improve for Kode Street and everyone else related soon. But yeah, that's effectively my review of Release the Menace, another really strong song from Kode Street. And I'm really impressed. I mean, I'm happy with it. Well done. If you enjoyed listening to this track by Kode Street, please do go show Kode Street some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please also remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.